Welcome to What Are You Reading, a podcast by the Public Library of Mount Vernon in Knox County. My name is Christy.
And I'm Katie.
And this month, of course, it's spooky season.
Mm-hmm.
So we, of course, wanted to pick something that was a little bit spooky, but also things that we thought, hey, maybe people haven't heard of these, or they haven't maybe gotten the traction that they really should. So, of course, it's easy for us to say, oh, Dean Koontz, Stephen King, Paul Tremblay, Josh Mallerman, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what about some of these other authors that might not necessarily get the hype for being a little bit spooky, a little fun, that might get missed during the spooky season of October? So we kind of went outside of the box a little, I think.
Yeah, we did.
I picked, of course, shocker to no one ever, a bit of a romance. So I picked The Wren in the Holly Library by K.A. Lind. It, of course, as you guys, if you can't see it and you're at home listening, this book is so stunning. It is this beautiful blue with this pattern that looks like it's in wrought iron. And it's of holly branches, and there's a little wren sitting on the cover. And under the dust jacket, it's even more beautiful. It has a picture of the library with our main character running down the spine. And it has sprayed edges, which is kind of like a new thing in publishing. It's very, very popular, and it makes them very beautiful for on your shelf. So if you're a book buyer, you better up that budget, because every book that's coming out now is absolutely stunning. So I won't lie, that's what caught my eye the first time I saw it, was the sprayed edges, this, and then there's a tagline too that caught my attention. She broke the monster treaty, and he'll make her pay. Ooh, so spooky. What book did you pick?
So I picked The Book of Love by Kelly Link, and it does deal with a little bit of romance, but it does encompass kind of all types of love. So in that way, it's a little bit different. And it is very spooky. Ooh. So the basic premise is, when the book opens, these 4 recently graduated high school kids wake up, and they're in what looks like their music room from the high school. And they're all dirty and disoriented, and actually only 3 of them know each other. There's a random 4th person. And then their music teacher, Mr. Annabin, comes in and is like, hey, y'all are dead.
What?
Yeah. So, and then another guy comes in, and his name is Bogomil, and he is like the keeper of death's door.
Oh.
And he's like, you guys escaped from my land, and I don't like that. So you need to come back with me. And then he and Annabin talk to each other, and then they're like, okay, we brokered a deal. 2 of you get to go back. 2 of you are going to stay. And we are looking for something. So if you find it, then, you'll get to stay.
Whoa.
So, yeah. And so then they get, dropped back into their lives. Nobody knows that they were gone. So the Annabin was able to mold the world to be like, oh, you've been at music camp.
Okay. Explain their absence in people's lives.
Yeah. So anyways, and then you get to meet the so basically, Annabin and Bogomil want out of their current situation. And they're using the kids to get that. And then they meet the person that they're basically stealing from, a goddess.
Oh, okay.
Who has no problems messing with people. So there's a lot going on. It's very hard to explain, but there are lots of layers.
Yeah.
A lot of things happened while they were gone. And there are actually people in their circle that aren't real.
Wow.
but they don't remember that they're not real.
Yeah.
Because the memories were put in.
So that complicates the situation even more.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay.
Yep.
Shocking. I mean, to start out the book with these 4 kids finding out that they're dead that's a twist already. So finding out that there's deeper layers to this afterlife type situation, and then being put back into the real world to try to find these items for upper deities.
Yeah. So it's kind of mysterious too. And because to go to stay, how are they going to decide?
Yeah, how do you decide?
And especially since the fourth one, who's not connected, like very easily, they're like, well, obviously not him. But the 3 that know each other form an alliance, but then it's kind of like, okay, which one are we going to screw over?
Yeah, that's even worse, I think.
Yeah.
Having to pick one of your friends or acquaintances, and what if it's you? That's
sure.
Very big, kind of Big Brother. If anybody watches that show, it gets hard.
Yeah.
Wow. It sounds so unique.
Yes, it is a very unique premise. Like I said, the deity that is in there is awful. You're never knowing if, it starts out that kind of like Annabin is supposed to be the character of light, and Bogomil is the character of dark. But it's not that simple. And they're both running their own agendas. And they may have a relationship that the kids don't know about.
Sure.
So, and it's further complicated because like it's 2 boys and a girl. One of the boys is the girl's sister's on again, off again boyfriend. And then the other boy is the girl's sister's best friend.
Oh, wow.
So, like, she may not feel connected with those 2 very much, but she's got to work with one of them.
Yeah.
And at least for a little while, she kind of plays both sides.
Oh, boy.
So, and, like, it does get a little graphic with some descriptions and things. If you have a problem with blood, no. It's only in a couple parts, but it is.
Yeah.
It's specific.
Okay.
So trigger warnings there. It's one of those books that you're reading and you're like, you can't stop, but you're like, what in the world is happening right now?
I can't stop.
Yeah. It's like, but I gotta figure this out. I gotta make sure that people are okay.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I know it just kind of popped up out of nowhere and we were like, what's the story of this?
Yeah, we got an advanced reader copy and I read the back and was like, oh, could be good. And I've been trying this year to go through my advanced reader copies and actually read them.
Yeah.
So this was one of them and I was like, it's spooky without being scary.
Yeah.
I mean, there's parts that are kind of scary, but it's not like Stephen King level scary.
Yeah. It's just kind of like an overall sense of dread.
Yes.
And it's kind of macabre in its theming.
Yeah. Yeah. And of course, if you're one of those people that's like, if it could really happen to me, then no.
Yeah.
This is a very specific circumstance. So that kind of took a little bit of the scary out of it for me because it's like, well, obviously, if you don't put yourself in a weird situation, then
right, like X, Y, and Z would have to happen exactly that way in order for this to become reality.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
So, which of course, work of fiction.
Yes, totally.
So.
And what's really cool is a lot of times when we get ARCs, advanced reader copies, we'll later end up having the book purchased. So Cassandra that purchases the items, we'll see this and end up purchasing it for the collection. So it's pretty cool that, and we picked it because you guys can check it out. So It's really interesting, and I now have the arc that Katie passed along to me, so it's definitely on my list to read.
While I was reading it, I was like, oh, Christy needs to read this.
Yeah, as she would tell me little bits and pieces as she was reading it, I was like, oh, that does sound really good. That sounds like something I'd be interested in. Well, and is why I picked my book, because we had also kind of talked about, like, it's a book of love, different types of love, and I thought, well, spooky love is something we haven't really touched on, so why not? And that is definitely where the Wren and the Holly Library comes in, because I don't want to say too much here, because Katie hasn't read it yet. I want you guys to read it, and there's some spoilers very early on. So what I will say is that there's an awesome dedication to start the book off. And the author says that this book is to all of the girls who fell in love with the library before the beast. Which I
love that.
Right?
Yeah.
So our book opens up with our female main character. Her name is Kierce. And I will mention something else I love that the author did, because the spelling's a little interesting. The character, when introducing herself to our main male character, explains her name. So she says it's like Pierce with a K.
Okay.
And I instantly said, okay, that's how I pronounce it. I adored that, because yes, I will absolutely Google a name, because if any of you are TikTokers, you might have seen like a reel or, TikTok about when you're reading a fantasy novel and the name is really maybe unique or something you've never pronounced before. My internal monologue when I'm reading, if the name is, I can't figure it out, I'm just like, it's going to da-da-da. So I will create weird sounds for the name. So I loved that we started off with that. So we meet Kierce, and she is a thief. And she has been told to steal a diamond ring from a library. And it is in the library is so easy to see. It is directly off the street level view of a brownstone home in New York City. So we have this beautiful brownstone. We can look right in the window, and there's a stunning library. So she's been told through the little earpiece, that's where it is. So she's working with a firm, and they work for other people to steal things. So she has a guide in her ear, and he's telling her what to do. And she has been trained to be an expert thief. And as she's breaking into the home, she's thinking, this is really easy. Something doesn't feel right. This might be too easy. But she says, I got to get the job done, right? So she ends up getting the ring pretty easily, finding a box, opening it up, getting the object. As she's getting ready to leave with the object, she feels a presence behind her. And this is where we meet the owner of said library and said brownstone. And he is not happy that she is in his home. And that is how we meet Graves. And something that is important to the story is that, as she mentioned here, she broke the monster treaty. So in this world, there are monsters, and we know they exist. So there are humans and monsters, and we are on the other side of an epic world war of humans versus monsters. So we have werewolves and vampires and selkies and harpies and all kinds of goblins, trolls, everything you can think of. We are on the other side of the war, so there is a treaty that is in place, but millions died. We've lost human lives, monster lives, and something that happened between the werewolves and the vampires led to the peace. Because there was, of course, monster infighting as well. So there is a newfound peace in the world between everyone. And one of the treaties, is to not interfere with each other. And by her breaking into his home, she is breaking the treaty. And the price for breaking the treaty is death.
Oh, no.
So if he so decides, he is allowed to kill her. So that puts us in a really interesting spot because Kierce is now faced with the monster who she's been assigned to steal from, and it's up to him whether she lives or dies.
Mm-hmm.
So this creates a really interesting storyline where Graves might be trying to get her to help him through ways to keep her alive. So if you want to stay alive, then you're going to help me do this. So now Kierce is thrown into the middle of a epic showdown between some really, really powerful monsters that have some really deep, dark politics going on between each other. And Kierce might not be as human as she thinks she is.
Ooh.
So we've got romance. We clearly have something going on with our main characters. There's a little bit of spice, so just be, warned about that. There are some trigger warnings, but they are listed in the front of the book. So definitely flip through those pages. Whenever you get a book, I always recommend, reading that dedication, maybe reading the author's note. And also, like I mentioned, a lot of times authors will put the trigger warnings in the front. So definitely check those out. And if this sounds like a book that you'd be interested in, the premise you'd be interested in, definitely check it out. We, of course, have copies here for you to borrow. So I had such a great time with this one.
It sounds great.
Oh, it's so good. And I will show you guys, and of course I'll describe it too. But underneath this beautiful dust jacket is Graves' library.
Oh, wow.
Isn't this so pretty? So for those folks at home, the hardback cover does, from cover to cover, have the library with our main character down here on the spine. So it is a really stunning book, and the writing is just as beautiful as the cover. So K.A. Lind has definitely become one of my new favorite authors, and she's written so much. This is just my introduction to her.
Okay.
So I'm really excited to read more from her. And I loved this world, so I'm definitely ready to go back to it.
Oh, nice.
Yes. Well, guys, we had a great time this month.
Oh, absolutely.
And we always do in Spooky Month. It's a favorite. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us again, and we'll see you in November. Bye.
Bye.